I never thought anyone could get angry at sunlight. Until the day. Karen marched up my driveway like she was leading some sort of suburban crusade. It was early morning, the kind where the sky burns gold and everything feels peaceful except for the rapid, furious tapping of Karen's heels as she approached my porch. I had just installed the first row of solar panels on my rural property. Panels I'd saved for months to afford. Panels I'd dreamed about installing ever since I bought this land. But as Karen stormed toward me, eyes sharp, chin trembling with rage, I realized something. This wasn't just about solar panels to her. This was personal. "Those things are coming down," she snapped before she even said hello. "The HOA doesn't allow reflective hazards on neighboring properties." I blinked. "Reflective hazards?" "Yes," she hissed. "Your panels could blind drivers. They could distract pilots. They could interfere with satellite signals." Pilots? Satellite signals? I wanted to laugh. But the fire in Karen's eyes told me she wasn't joking. She had printed papers, highlighted sections, and carried a clipboard like she was presenting a federal case. She thrust a stack of documents at me, each page filled with HOA bylaws I had never agreed to. Because here's the thing, I didn't live in the HOA. My property was rural, outside their jurisdiction. But Karen didn't care about boundaries, geographical or personal. "You're setting a dangerous precedent for the entire community," she continued. "Solar panels attract crime, lower property values, and create light pollution." Light pollution? From renewable energy panels. It was absurd, but there was one detail that made everything more complicated. Karen was the newly elected president of the HOA, and she'd been trying to expand its influence zone. My land sat just outside the border. She wanted to claim. She wasn't just fighting the sun. She was fighting me. I told her calmly that my property was registered as rural exempt, and her HOA had no authority here. Karen's face twitched. Her voice lowered into a cold, controlled whisper. "We'll see about that." Then she turned around and marched back across the property line like a general returning to a war tent. By that evening, she had filed 3 complaints, contacted the county office, and posted on the community Facebook group claiming my solar panels were a safety threat to children and air traffic. I had no idea yet that this drama would eventually involve county officials, legal letters, and even the state's energy department. But at that moment, standing in the fading sunlight, I knew one thing. Karen had just declared war. Karen didn't waste a single second. By the next morning, the situation had already escalated far beyond a petty neighborhood argument. When I stepped outside, coffee in hand, I saw a bright orange notice taped to my mailbox. At first glance, it looked official. County logo, legal formatting, the works. For a moment, my heart dropped. Had Karen actually convinced the county to act this fast? But as I read through it, confusion replaced panic. The violation notice wasn't signed by any county inspector. It wasn't stamped. The language was sloppy, full of dramatic phrases like immediate, hazard to aerial navigation, and visual pollution. And at the very bottom, tucked between lines of faux legal jargon, signature, HOA President, Karen Wilshire. She had created her own county notice. I almost laughed out loud. Almost, but there was something unsettling behind her desperation. This wasn't just about HOA control. She wanted power, control, and absolute authority over anyone within sight of her property. And she was willing to fake government documents to get it. I took the paper inside and called the county office. After explaining the situation, the clerk let out a tired sigh that told me this wasn't the first Karen incident they'd dealt with. "She's filed 3 complaints already," the clerk said. "All rejected. Solar panels are fully legal on rural exempt properties. You're well within your rights." That should have been the end of it. But Karen wasn't done. That afternoon, as I added another row of panels, she reappeared with 2 HOA board members in tow. They stood at the edge of my driveway like they were about to conduct a criminal raid. "We demand immediate removal," Karen declared. "The HOA has voted unanimously." I wiped sweat from my forehead. "Still not in the HOA." Karen smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. "The county inspector will say otherwise." That's when a white truck rolled up with a county logo on the door. My stomach knotted. Had Karen actually gotten someone to side with her? The inspector stepped out, clipboard in hand. Karen practically sprinted to him. "There, those panels. They violate subsection." He held up a hand. "Ma'am, I've reviewed the complaint. Solar installations like this are permitted." Karen froze. The inspector walked over to me. "Your permits are valid. Your property classification is rural exempt. She has no authority here." Karen's face turned a shade of red I didn't know humans could achieve. But the inspector wasn't done. "Also," he added, turning to her, "stop filing false claims. The county is documenting this." Karen didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at him as if her entire world had cracked. I thought that would finally end it. But I had no idea she had already contacted someone much bigger. I should have known Karen wouldn't stop after the county shut her down. People like her didn't lose gracefully. They regrouped, doubled down, and came back swinging even harder. But even then, I wasn't prepared for how far she'd go. 2 days after the county inspector embarrassed her in front of her board members, I woke up to the sound of engines rumbling outside my property. Not one, not two. 3 black SUVs parked along the road, hazard lights blinking. For a split second, I wondered if Karen had somehow summoned federal agents to my house. But when the doors opened, I realized it wasn't that dramatic, at least not at first. It was a private compliance team hired by the HOA. High-visibility vests, clipboards, laser measuring tools. They looked like a construction crew that had mistaken my driveway for a crime scene. Karen stood behind them, arms crossed, chin lifted, wearing sunglasses like she was directing a Hollywood action scene. "Proceed," she ordered. They marched toward my solar panels. I stepped out of the house, heart pounding. "What do you think you're doing?" One of the workers read from a sheet. "By authority of the Homeowners Association." I cut him off. "I'm not in the HOA." Karen stepped forward. "You are adjacent to the HOA. That means your property affects us. Therefore, you fall under extended compliance." "Extended compliance?" I repeated. "You made that up." "It's already been filed," she said smugly. "And this time, I've contacted a federal office. They will confirm everything." I almost told her to stop embarrassing herself. But before I could, one of the workers shouted, "Ma'am! We're getting glare readings." Karen lit up like she'd won the lottery. "See? Hazardous reflection." "I told you!" The worker frowned at his device. "Actually, this is normal. All readings are within safe limits." Karen grabbed the machine from his hands. "You're using it wrong." He gently took it back. "Ma'am, I've been doing this for 15 years. She didn't care. "This isn't over," she snapped. "The Department of Energy is already reviewing my complaint. They will stop this." I stared at her. "You contacted the Federal Energy Department?" "Oh yes," she said, chin high. "They take environmental hazards very seriously." Environmental hazards, solar panels. The irony was wild. I thought she was bluffing. But that evening, I got an email from the U.S. Department of Energy. A representative wanted to schedule a virtual meeting regarding a citizen-filed complaint involving potential unsafe photovoltaic installation impacting a residential community. Karen had actually done it. She had taken her war all the way to Washington, and she had no idea what she had just unleashed. The next morning, the virtual meeting with the Department of Energy felt surreal. I had triple-checked my permits, measurements, installation photos, everything. I wasn't nervous about my panels. I was nervous about what kind of chaos Karen had stirred up in her complaint. When the meeting started, the DOE representative, a calm, professional man named Dr. Harlan, appeared on the screen. He introduced himself, explained the purpose of the review, and politely asked me to summarize the situation. I told him everything as clearly as I could. The rural classification of my property, Karen's attempts to enforce unauthorized HOA rules, the fake violation notice, the glare accusations, the private compliance crew, and finally her claim that my solar panels were a danger to aircraft, satellites, and public safety. Dr. Harlan listened quietly, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "Thank you," he said. "Now let's review the complaint." He pulled up a document filled with highlighted sections. Every hazard Karen had listed was more dramatic than the last. Threats to commercial aviation, risk of starting wildfires, interference with radio towers, ecological disruption, glare capable of causing instant temporary blindness. She had even attached photos, but the photos were taken from bizarre angles. Some obviously edited, and one that wasn't even my property. Dr. Harlan exhaled a long, patient sigh. "Mr. Haynes, these claims are scientifically impossible." I felt both relieved and embarrassed on Karen's behalf. He continued. "Your installation meets every federal guideline. Your rural exemption is valid. And your system is textbook safe. Solar energy is not only legal, it's encouraged. In fact," he paused, a small smile forming, "Karen inadvertently triggered a full assessment of renewable readiness in your region." "She what?" I asked. "She filed such an urgent, exaggerated report that it qualified for automatic review. The county and state will now receive federal support to expand renewable infrastructure." I laughed. I couldn't help it. Karen's war on solar panels had, ironically, brought more solar energy to the entire area. But the DOE representative wasn't done. "We will be contacting the HOA," he said. "Filing false environmental hazard claims is a serious matter, and attempting to interfere with lawful renewable installations. Even more so." When the meeting ended, I stepped outside and found Karen standing near the property line, arms folded, eyes narrowed, waiting. Well, she demanded. I smiled. The energy department reviewed everything. And? They said my panels are perfect, safe, legal, and the HOA must stop interfering. Her jaw dropped. For the first time, she didn't have a word to say. The sun reflected softly off my panels behind me. Calm, clean, unstoppable. The war was over, and the sun had won. Wow, what a wild story. If you enjoyed watching how Karen tried to stop my solar panels, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in my place. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next unbelievable Showdown!